This is TWiT.
This has been a weird year, for Xbox. And I can't say that I can explain it. I've defended a lot of what Microsoft has done to date, and then last week we got these changes to Game Pass, right? So the one that everyone focuses on is Game Pass Ultimate, because they literally are raising the price by 50%, which is just insane. I believe I went back and looked at this. I think when they originally had 3 different Game Pass options. So the original Game Pass, which was just for console, they introduced PC Game Pass. These were $9.99, and then they did Ultimate, which includes both together, and then Cloud Gaming, which was in beta till 2 seconds ago. $14.99, right? Or maybe $16.99, somewhere in there. $29.99, right? Before getting into the Ultimate end of it, I just want to point out, I feel like if you can overlook the reality of them getting rid of the classic Game Pass that had the day one perk, which was the big seller, and they replaced that.
Never really delivered on because it couldn't be. We knew it.
Not with Activision Blizzard, like when it was just Xbox Studios and maybe
if you're only making B games, then maybe. But it's
you have the occasional hit, like it's Halo or. Gears of War, okay.
It's a big budget thing. If you spend if you spent $200 million making this game, you're not giving it away on pass.
And it's more than that. I mean, 5-7-year-old Call of Duty games for $400 to $600 million. I mean, just because they make billions, right? But
they make billions.
Still, this is
they only make billions because they charge $80 for the game.
Right. So which is part of the math here, right? We don't, on the outside of Microsoft, outside of Xbox, have all the math to be able to understand exactly what's happening. But one of the things we knew coming into this was, just to use one game as an example, every October, November, Microsoft or Activision at the time would release a new version of Call of Duty, and this thing would make $1 billion in 2 seconds. And if you give this thing to people who are paying $9.99 or $19.99 or whatever it is a month for Game Pass, how many Game Pass subscriptions do you have to have for that to make sense? There aren't that many video game players. I mean, it's hard to do the math. No one really knows for sure, but it was very clear before this transaction even went through, this was going to be a problem. And so the first
do you think they were hoping they'd get that many people signing up that it was going to work? Like, I didn't know that they thought that
maybe
far
that's
ahead.
The thing. I can't say because we don't know how many people would have to for it actually to make sense. Maybe I don't know. But when they got rid of what used to be Xbox Game Pass, the initial one, and then replaced it with something that didn't have the day one perk, that was the first indication.
Right.
Now, the only one of these subscriptions that has it is Ultimate, and that price just went up by 50% to $30 a month. That's the cost, right? Somewhere in there's a rough understanding that this thing can't make money unless they do it this way. Like, it has to be this expensive. And okay, so but again, if you can just ignore the day one thing, and if you look at the 2 other subscriptions we have in Game Pass, right? And also PC, which still exists, which I wasn't clear on when they first announced this stuff. Honestly, these are pretty good values. They have solid libraries. They've made subtler changes that raise the price in kind of vague ways. For example, you used to be able to, I think we talked about this, you could accumulate these rewards by playing games and use that credit to pay for, at least partially, your subscription every month, which lowered the cost for you. You can't do that anymore, right? So these are that kind of thing is absolutely in certification. That's one of the things I wanted to just lay out first thing. But the Xbox hardware thing is tough. They've they've raised the price of the Xbox consoles, at least in the US, twice this year. Horrible. At some point, you have to think they don't want to sell these things anymore. This has always been a money-losing business for Microsoft. This generation somehow has emerged as kind of the worst, which is terrible because these are the best consoles.
Yeah, and the question is, are they raising the prices enough they actually have a margin on them? Because they used to have virtually no margin. So they're just covering off the increase.
They had negative margin. I mean, it was,
Or are they actually trying to make money on them? I don't know the answer to that.
But this is combination of things. So you see that the most desirable Game Pass subscription is now 50% more expensive. The consoles have raised in price twice. Game prices are not all games, but AAA games, there are exceptions, of course, but $59.99 was the rule of the land for, I think, 10 years plus. It went to $69.99 for somewhere up to maybe 5 years, if you count this year, and now $79.99, right? So there was this long period of time where it was one price, a short period of time where it was another price, and now it's gone up again. And it's, the rate of increase is dramatic, and it is tied to what you said, Rich. I think they've never said this, but I think it is tied to what you were talking about. The last Call of Duty for which we have data was Black Ops Cold War, which did not perform as well as earlier Black Ops games. Cost $700 million to make, right? I know, and they make one of these every year. I doubt the new ones are less expensive.
Well, and they don't get them done in a year either, so that means they've got 3 or 4 of them in the pipeline at any given time.
And even given
that, burn rate is astonishing.
Right. There are now 2 times in the modern era where they had to basically fudge a new release. We're about to have one of those now, where when we went from, it was the new Modern Warfare 2 to the new Modern Warfare 3, they were back to back. Originally, what became Modern Warfare 3 was going to, well, it was always called that, it was going to be like an add-on for the previous game.
A deal.
And they decided just to sell it as a full-on title.
Game. Yeah.
So this past week, Black Ops 7, which is a follow-on to Black Ops 6, the current game, they had. I think they extended it. There's a public beta if you want to go give it a shot. It is exactly the same as Black Ops 6, except you can kind of run on walls a little bit, and the levels are terrible. But other than that, it's the same game, and it's like they're going to charge $69.99 for this piece of junk, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, but we can have more maps. It's like, yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's tough. So the problem is for a gamer, this thing like Game Pass to me used to be like a no-brainer. It was such a great value. But you have to do some hard math. There is, for me personally, now I granted I'm maybe not typical, but I'd be better off spending $69.99 on Call of Duty and just maybe every once in a while buying like a new Doom game when that comes out or something.
Yeah, you're lucky if you $360. Like,
I know.
You can buy 5 games a year for that, and you don't buy 5 games.
And I am not buying 5 games a year. No, not even close. And that is a problem. And it almost makes me wonder if the point of this wasn't really to get people to bump down to one of the lower tiers where they do make money, because I don't think Game Pass Ultimate makes sense for them. And I think this is them saying, please don't do this. Please don't do this.
No, but if you want to give us this much money, then okay.
I mean, we'll do it, but you're going to pay the actual cost of this thing to us, and it's exorbitant. And
it crashed the site. That's how badly people want to pay that much.
Yep.
They don't.
The other little subtle thing they did to raise prices is, remember back in the day when Xbox Live debuted in 2002, there was a silver, which was free, and a gold that was, I think it was $50 a year to begin, and it was only annual. That was the only way you could do it. And part of the thing you were paying for there was the ability to play online multiplayer games with matchmaking, right? Which is something they pulled out of Halo and made available to the entire ecosystem. The thought there being that you could do this for free, so to speak, on PC, but no one was hosting infrastructure for it. Microsoft was like, we're going to have a centralized infrastructure for this. We're hosting it. It's costing us money. You have to pay for that. Consoles are different. Okay. But now we have these 3 different subscriptions. They've all gone up. They added in time the ability to pay per month. They added the ability to buy what is essentially like a gift card or whatever, where you could get 1, 3, 6, I think, 12 certainly month Xbox Live Gold at one point, and then the Game Pass stuff as well. That's gone, right? So if you want to pay for this, you're paying per month. There is no way to save money. In the short term, you can save money by buying up the existing stuff that's out there, little gift cards or whatever, and applying them to your account. And you can push that out. It might be 2 or 3 years. I'm not really sure. You can stack them and do that, and that's cute. I mean, it's nice for now, but that's going away. So
you have to wonder if it doesn't provide incentive for people like they do with their Netflix account. It's like, hey, we're traveling for the next month. Let's cancel those accounts.
Exactly. That is the one. Well, not the one. One of the benefits is you can do that. Yeah, absolutely.
But look, I just wonder if that's actually going to impact Microsoft's bottom line enough to actually say, you're going to see more money here.
So, I'll just keep using Call of Duty as the example. Call of Duty, obviously, if you were to look at a year, we don't see this data, but there's probably this chart. Here are the sales. November, it spikes crazy through the roof. you'll probably see a similar pattern in Game Pass, right? Where it will follow the release of these big games, and it won't just be Call of Duty. It'll be whatever, the next Halo, the next Gears, the next whatever other franchises we have. So, but again, the problem to me is when you add up all this stuff together, this thing that used to be just an unassailable great value is
now
a little harder. But again, I want to be super clear that the lower end two, I guess 3 tiers, do have certain benefits. And they did bring cloud gaming, which is the cloud streaming service, to all of the tiers, right? That was not the case before. But that also makes Ultimate less desirable, right?
Right.
There might be people, I hope not, but maybe there were people who are paying for that specifically for that feature. If that's true, you can get this now for $15 a month instead of $29.99 a month or whatever. So this is a tough one. I can't. I feel like this has been happening.
Part of this feels like the Xbox division has been told to pay their way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yep.
You're not AI. You need to pay your way. Do what you got to do.
The only question, though, I have is the person, Amy Hood, right, or that part of the company that would be saying this to them, evaluated the Activision Blizzard. They did the math. They knew what would have to happen for this to make sense. They okayed it. They pushed this thing past the point I think most companies would have just given up on this acquisition.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they played a role in this. I mean,
the other side of this acquisition part is that their stock price more than went up to cover the cost of the acquisition. Like that, $70 billion is irrelevant, right?
Okay. So you're talking about like as an ongoing business.
Yeah, well, but now really is it profitable or not? Just because it was valued at something, and how is it going to be valuable in the new model?
Yep.
So they definitely are, putting the spurs down on you need to be a profitable entity.
So Sarah Bond, who was not the head of Xbox, but I don't know her exact title. She said in the past week or two that Game Pass is profitable. It's pretty clear that Xbox as a business would be profitable if they didn't have to worry about hardware. Right? This is the problem, right?
Right.
This is a little out of order, but I'll just throw this in now because we just mentioned this. But there was our world is so terrible. Some random person in a gaming forum claimed that Microsoft, their plans for next gen hardware, console hardware, was up in the air, which got reported on and blah, 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 whatever. So they felt the need to make a statement about that and said that's not the case at all. We are working, we're working with AMD still. We're doing this multi-generational thing. We have, but the quote itself is interesting because and this is Sarah Bond again, I believe, says literally, actively investing in future first-party consoles and devices, right? So, meaning an Xbox Ally device made by Microsoft, not made by Asus or other companies, and there will be other companies.
I mean, it's weird because console is a device, so it's a strange subset. When they say device, what do they mean? They mean handheld?
I think they mean handheld gaming, handhelds. And that these things will be designed, engineered, and built by Xbox, right? And so Microsoft would have, or the Xbox org would have, if they could have, I think, released one of those gaming handhelds this year. That was the intent. And I believe that was scuttled by either AB Hood or
We've got the Asus device.
Yeah, we have the Asus devices, yeah. So anyway, okay, we're keeping to that story. And there was so much blowback to the Game Pass stuff that Microsoft has decided to delay the price increase in certain markets, especially in Europe. So Austria, Germany, Ireland, Poland, and then I think it's like Korea, India, and some other countries are not going to see this price increase for at least, I think it's 6 months or whatever. We'll see what happens. But
interesting.
Yeah, don't worry if you're living in the United States. Your price is going up.
Maybe that's just to keep the cancellation side from going down.
Yeah, exactly. Just give it enough time to recover.
We're just spreading out the cancellation.
Yeah. We're going to build some Azure
data center capacity. When I first saw that story, I was thinking, the EU's got rules about if you've got an auto renew, you can't jack the price up that much.
The EU's going to complicate all kinds of things like that.
And the answer is just don't auto renew with that kind of price range. Just say, hey, you have to turn your renewal back on and pay the new price, but you've got to engage the customer one way or another. But maybe the cancellation thing is actually the answer here. They just need to spread out the cancellations.
Yep.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this little highlight from a much better show, and longer too, called Windows Weekly. The whole link to the show is right below me. And of course, we stream live right here every Wednesday. You can watch us do our thing or download it here or in your favorite podcast player. Best thing to do? What do they say? Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.